welcome to Hypershock Tooltips. On today's episode, we're talking soldering, specifically taking big heavy gauge wires like, I think this is an 8 gauge or a 6 gauge and 2 10s, and turning this into a whole wiring harness for multiple parts of the system. So these are going to create the ground harness for the drivetrain. So here we have a 6 gauge, 8 gauge, and a 10 gauge, all go in different parts of the subsystem, and we're going to create a single joint through all these three. Okay, first thing we need to do is strip these wires. So you can use these, you can use these, you can even use these puppies, which are really fancy. Personally, I'm pretty facile with just snips, and I'm left-handed, so I'm just gonna crimp around and remove and just have that. And I'll do the same thing for all 3 wires. Make sure you remove any little extra bits that come off. And just so you see this one, gently go around, make sure you're only cutting through the insulation. Okay. All right, so here we have our 3 wires ready for tinning. Before you start soldering, you need to make sure you have 2 important things. 1, eye protection, because sometimes solder splatters and it's a bad time to get solder in your eyeballs. Number 2, fume extractor, especially when you're working indoors. It's easy to get lots of bad fumes in here, and so we want to extract them with this guy. All right, soldering time. We need to use some real solder, so we got the good stuff here, rosin filled and with lead in it. Don't eat this, but it's good for killer robots. So we got our soldering iron on. I'm going to turn the extraction fan on, and then we'll get to soldering. I've got the biggest chisel tip I've got here, and we're just going to fill the joint with solder and let it all heat up. Okay, so let's inspect our solder joint. You can see that the baling wire technique held up and it held the wires together while we were manipulating everything around. The wires are very warm, but we have full penetration everywhere. There's fully tinned, and looks like we have a solid joint. So now we'll take our heat shrink tubing and we'll slide it over the joint, and now it's time to shrink. Important, before you forget, if you need to have heat shrink on, make sure you put it on either before you tie this joint together, or ensure that you can actually get it over one of these ends, because if this is soldered to a box and this is soldered to a box and you can't get the heat shrink over whatever it's soldered to, you're kind of hosed. So make sure you get yourself your little piece of shrink tubing and slide it on. Don't go all the way to the joint, just want to make sure that we can actually get it over the joint once we're done soldering. Now, if you're at your workstation when you're trying to heat shrink something, you can use your SMD reworkstation with the heat gun, or if you're on the go, you can use this butane powered one from Multicom. All right, since we're here, I'm just going to use the SMD reworkstation. Pro tip, it really means it when it says hot. So we're going to hit the button on here. Now I'll start heating up. And we're going to make sure, triple check that our heat shrink is centered, and we're just going to start heating her up. Flip. When you're using heat shrink, make sure that you actually shrink all sides of the heat shrink tubing. You don't want to just hit one side and have asymmetric shrinking of your tube. Turn it off. Let's check out our handiwork. Let's see. So we got our good joint, nice and strong, well insulated. Looking pretty good. All right, there we have it. We have a nice solder joint. We have a nice heat shrink, and that's ready to go in the robot. See you next time.